Bula everyone. Yes, aloha, good day, and bula Vinaka, vakalevu for joining us tonight, wherever you are joining in from. Bula Vinaka.
Ra'ota uma arotuma, Ra'ota uma arotuma, Nefu ewo, ne Pacifica.
Talanoa.
leanda kayo mawawaka. Ne say talayola pola yola anya. Ya aman nemo, mama semao, mayo ne opin semo, marosio, popo iago, lata ya eo, popo iago, lata ya eo. Noa ia, e eske bene isi, malon bene isi, ma omistela la otomis pu omus. Raota uma arotuma, raota uma arotuma, nefu ewo, ne pacifica.
Wow, so beautiful. Lisa, savana nan sarangai viti, vana nan sarangai rotuma. What a beautiful, beautiful song. Nimbula Vinaka bikim ni na vio kanyo ni sematiko mai. Totoko na nonda sematiko na madhaongo and na nonda marutakatiko na bula ni marama. Se Women's History Month. Ia na noa wiketonga i Amerika kata se marutakatiko na International Women's Day. Endo marutakatiko na ikawalu ni singa ni bula machi and na vea mbakito thopo. The marutaka may viti the sarabati ko na tamba to talk about kaoti and on the ready tiko na ve tamba ke na ve tabe sorang garaba na turanga ke na marama ro saranga tali din tareda na non rabito ko ni talanga menturanga na non marutaki na non ta marama bakang bula sar chukani we kem ni keda na marama na bula rabang ni siya matiko mikina may valangi we kende Amerika may New Zealand Australia may England bikim do mena tokla loloma nimbula Vinaka. Dombula talaga may Europe bikim do nagendo sar-sar ti kumain sa singa na banua bambula talaga ni bikim ni marota ka sarwa kalevu ni rowa kayo mai na nonda maramo bulang. Ro maramo so rua yo marota ka ni rowa kayo mai na nongu kerker. Warm greetings to everyone listening in tonight. Wherever you're logging in from, we're sending our love to all of you. As our 1977 Hibiscus Queen last night said, Florence Julian, she said, I'm sending you koala bear hugs. That was really, really sweet of her to everybody. And she said it's COVID-free too, which is awesome. So Vinaka vakalevu. So today we also have a lady connecting in from the land of the kangaroos and koala bears. So nice to have Letila Mitchell logging in from Australia. And we have our other sister from the beautiful province of Mbua. And connected to the province of Nanronga, Alisi Rabukawaqa Nacewa. So ladies, Mbula Vinaka and warm greetings to you both. How are you both tonight?
Pula Tarisi, very well, thank you.
Yes, Alisi?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you for having us this evening.
Yes, you're most welcome. I was looking forward to this Talanoa to hear your both of your stories because we'll be going down memory lane. Last night we went all the way to 1977 and today it looks like we'll be going to 1997 and 2011. Wow. So it's really nice to see the decades. I wasn't able to get anybody from the 80s era. Maybe I'll find out if maybe Lenora or someone else from the 80s can be able to join in just to hear and have the representation of the decades. That'll be really good. So welcome again, ladies. So basically today's opportunity, for us to talk with you both and hear your memories of the years that you both participated in this most memorable annual event, and all of us who lived in Fiji will remember that everybody looks forward to the second term school holiday, because we will know that time we had 3 terms only. So the second term is when everybody's going to meet at Albert Park. Yeah, that is why we are here. So anyway, before we start, we will ask you both ladies to say hello and greet your friends and colleagues who are logging in tonight. So we'll start off with Alisi in Fiji, and then we'll go to Letila in Australia. Vinaka, Alisi.
Thank you, Dr. T. Bulre and Vinaka. Hello to everyone who's joining us tonight. Thank you for inviting me again on your platform for this Talanoa, Dr. T. I don't think I'll really need to introduce myself. I'm sure your ardent followers who continue to watch all of your shows have already heard all of that. So it's just hello again, and thank you for having me.
Yes, Alisi. And I understand there was a power outage on Levu, Alisi. So is it okay now?
Yeah, there was this afternoon. I was actually we were at the office. We're just trying to complete some work, and then the power went out. We were trying to do printing and stuff, and we actually thought it was just our building. And then we saw some of the other staff walking down. We opened up the windows and we called. I was like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "No, power's out across Levu." Like, okay, time to go home. And when I got home, I think it was after 6, and then I realized, oh wait, we have a call at 8, and the power still wasn't on. So I was messaging just to say I might not be able to make it, but after 7, it was okay. It went on and off again, but it's all good now. You'll have me for the rest of your show, I'm pretty sure.
Vinaka. And also we have friends from Fiji who on around Levu, so hopefully you'll stay on to listen in as you may have the power back, wherever you're logging in from. Nakavalevu Alisi, and over to you, Letila.
Thank you again, Dr. T, for having me on the show as well. It's really great to be here with you and Alisi. Always nice to come on these platforms because it's an opportunity to share and connect again with people. And especially in this crazy few years we've had and this really challenging times, always appreciate the opportunity to gather and talk. So yeah, just a big thank you and hello to everyone. I hope everyone is safe wherever they are, especially to a lot of the families in New South Wales at the moment and Queensland who are recovering from floods, and Tonga recovering from the volcano. It's been a crazy start to 2020, right? But yeah, just grateful for all the love and blessings we have and the support in our community. So yeah, Vinaka, and thank you for having me.
Vinaka. And everything is okay where you are at the moment in terms of flooding?
Yeah, we were really lucky where we live. We're on a bit of a hill, so the water only came up to our doorstep. But for the water height was about 14 meters. So quite a few houses were under, like one of the shopping centers just down the road was completely underwater. So it was quite strange driving out of our house the other day and just seeing all of the, places still underwater. So it's just this week we've started to be able to get back out and about again. But I know a lot of the New South Wales, they're still underwater. So yeah, it's terrible.
So we are all thinking of you, for those of you who are listening in from the state of New South Wales and also in Queensland. We hope that our Talanoa today will give you some smile for the next hour or so as we go down memory lane, in which the two ladies, Alisi and Letila, will be sharing their memories of their own Hibiscus festivals that they were part of, and they were both crowned as Miss Hibiscus. So for those of you who are logging in, I'm sure most of you will have lots of memories of your own when you went to this festival. If you do have them, please type down the comments on the comment section. It happened last night with William Wangalevi, remembering he was in class 3 when Florence Julian was crowned Miss Hibiscus in 1977. And he had such an amazing memory. He described the sound and what he, as a 7-year-old, I think, he was 7 or maybe 8 at that time, when you're in class, when he's in class 3. So what memories he was sharing last night. It created a lot of Talanoa amongst those who were watching and those who remembered their experiences of joining this festival. So what we'll do, for those of you who are listening in, and also to Alisi and Letila, I will play this 1978 festival, Hibiscus Festival, and we'll just go down memory lane thanks to National Archives of Fiji, and also a lovely soul on YouTube sent me the link. His name is Vesamasama, Mr. Vesamasama. So I think it's Gilbert Vesamasama. So if you're listening in, Gilbert, Vinaka vakalevu for sending me this link. Today, actually, I saw the link, so I'm gonna play it and we'll go from there. Naka. Okay, so I will share and let's watch this.
Fiji, fantastic. Fiji, fantastic. Fiji, Fiji, fantastic. Fiji, fantastic. Fiji.
It's festival time in Fiji, and it's fun time for the many thousands who flock to Fiji's capital, Suva, for a week of gaiety and celebration. The Hibiscus Festival is one of Fiji's premier events, designed to boost the country's tourism industry and provide fun for the family. Started 21 years ago, Hibiscus Week has become a permanent part of Fiji's calendar of events, providing everyone with a time for relaxation and enjoyment, a time to break away from the daily humdrum of workaday chores. But a parade is part of a festival anywhere in the world, so how about a touch of the unusual? Fiji's 300 islands are surrounded by vast stretches of ocean, and aquatic events feature prominently in the festival. Races for bamboo rafts and homemade canoes are held in Suva Bay, just a short distance away from the heart of the city. A more conventional competition is the annual Soapbox Derby. Kids of all ages participate, using virtually anything on wheels.
Miss Hibiscus 1978 is Miss Tiki Togs.
It's been a week of excitement, celebrations, and festivity. A week that we hope you will share with us in the not too distant future.
Fiji, fantastic. Fiji, fantastic. Fiji.
Yeah, so a nice film to go down memory lane. Going back to 1978. So just by watching, especially the crowning part, maybe I'll go straight to that one. How did you feel at that time when your name was called out? Maybe we'll start with Letila, since she's in 1997, and then we'll come to 2011. Over to you, Letila.
Wow, that is definitely a long distant memory away. But yeah, I just remember feeling like really surprised, but completely exhausted. So it took me a while to actually like connect that they were calling me. I remember the girls around me going, "Come on, it's you." I was like, what? So it took me a while, but I think the exciting thing was just seeing the community around us, and just just going out into the crowd and just, it was pretty special special experience, but yeah, very, very crazy and overwhelming.
Yes, Vinaka for sharing that. What about you, Alisi?
Oh my goodness, watching that video was so much fun. I almost wanted to cheer and clap when they announced the winner, like, yay! It just brings back all those, really fun, happy memories of being at the festival and watching this thing collectively with so many people. And for me, crowning night was so surreal. I guess at that point, like by 2011, I suppose the structure of the pageant had changed, like you had it sort of in tiers, and then at that point there was like this top 5 who were called out. So you kind of like, okay, I'm in the top 5, and then they start announcing the 4th runner-up and the 3rd runner-up, and then you're only one of 2 people left standing there. And at that point, I remember just like looking around, like the crowning wasn't so much the important bit. I just wanted to soak in the moment. And I remember just like taking a moment to look out, and the place was packed. Like when we had walked in initially, like, the grounds, because there was this huge pavilion facing the, at Albert Park, the pavilion, and then there was this stage set up. And so the grounds are pretty huge, yeah? And it sort of closed off. And so when we had walked in initially, only a few people were seated at the Albert Park Pavilion. But then by the time it got to announcing the crowning, I like looked up like, to just really soak it in. The pavilion was packed, the grounds were packed. And because it was cordoned off, only people with tickets could get in, we could actually see outside, and people were like right up until the edge of Albert Park. They were all standing around there, just all waiting for the announcement. And then it reminded me of years in the past when the Hibiscus would happen. And I would never be in there. I would be one of those people standing from outside, like trying to peep in, and then hearing them announce whoever won and cheering. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's so unreal. It was really, really fun. And by the time my name got called, I really didn't know what was going on after that. I kind of blacked out as well. The crowning bit, the photo I sent you, like that doesn't stick in my memory. I don't remember sitting down exactly to have the crown and stuff like that. Like the rest of it was sort of what I saw in the videos and pictures afterwards. And so that happened to it. Kind of just like blurred away after that.
Just a blur, eh? Yeah. And yesterday I asked Florence in terms of the speech. Did any of you did you prepare any speech before the crowning?
Short answer, no.
Wow. Yeah, Letila?
Yeah, same. No, I didn't. Yeah, because I didn't. I had no clue that I would win. I had all these other girls that I knew would win, so I was just enjoying the experience and enjoying my time with all the girls and the community. So yeah, we kind of had already thought who was gonna win. So I had no preparation whatsoever.
Wow. And was it, I always think sort of like behind the scene, like counting down to the crowning night. Are there some discussions or chats amongst the girls, to kind of like hint, it might be you? Is there something like that happened, Letila? And then I'll go to Alisi.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there was always the really standout girls, that spoke really eloquently and had a really big team around them. And, and I think it was usually the girls that had big sponsors. They had, sort of wardrobe coordinators and makeup people. And so, they'd have these whole teams of people walking in and out, and they'd have 5-6 rooms around us. And, so I had a very small sponsor. And so there was quite a big group of us that were sponsored by smaller businesses. And so, we were like, oh yeah, we'll just have a great time because we're definitely not going to win it, But yeah, I mean, I think regardless though, there was such a close knit amongst all the girls, and like I still remain really good friends with a lot of the girls that I was there with, and a lot of them are peers that I work with on a regular basis. So it was definitely like a good few months of friendship building as well. Because it was like about a 6-7 month process apart from the actual week itself.
Right. So who was your sponsor, Letila?
Pacifica Communications were my sponsors. So at the time, Dale and Glenn, who owned Pacifica, I did canoeing with them. And I had no idea that they had put my name up. So Tanya Whiteside had spoken to them about me going into the show. So it was Tanya and my parents and Glenn and Dale that had made this decision. I was going to do Hibiscus. And they're like, oh, you have to represent all the paddlers. We need some ocean people in there. So I was like, yeah, sure, okay. but it was so great because then I had the whole canoeing community became a part of it. So it became this sort of little mini festival that we sort of built around it. So it was actually really good fun for all of us.
Vinaka. And what about you, Alisi? Who sponsored you, and what was it like for you, the experience, Alisi?
Well, so there was a group of us. It was part of this youth project that we wanted to do. The idea was Hibiscus was a huge platform, thousands of people watch on TV across Fiji and the Pacific. There's so much foot traffic. Maybe we can just go in there and use the place to advocate and share about some of the youth work we did, or this Ship of the World youth program that we participated in. And we went in kind of like, maybe we'll be self-sponsored, call myself Miss Y 23, and we'll fundraise the money and everything. Very similar story, Letila. We were just kind of like, just winging it a little bit. And what had happened was because the girls were then doing interviews to be selected by sponsors. Like all the sponsors came to the Hibiscus events group at that point. I think only maybe 1 or 2 actually came in with a girl and a sponsor. And then they sort of like tried to match and marry people with sponsors. So everyone was sponsored. And then I was like, oh, we'll just fundraise, we'll get the money, it'll be fun and everything. And then Miss Suva City Council, she dropped out. She said she couldn't participate anymore. And so they did interviews for Miss SCC. And then I walked in with one of the other girls that was still looking for a sponsor. So I went from Miss Self-Sponsored to Miss Suva City Council. And Miss Suva City Council is one of the major sponsors, one of the big ones that people always look out for. So it was kind of like a little bit nerve-wracking, like, oh my God, everyone's going to be looking out for Miss SCC. But yeah, I didn't want to focus on like this whole thing about being Miss SCC and all that. I just wanted to make sure that we're talking about our message, we're having fun, doing all these cool things. And it just worked out really well. So that was cool.
Oh, yes, man, that's amazing. Yeah? So Letila, Miss Pacific Communications, and for you, Alisi, Miss SCC. So in terms of the, when we looked at that video, one of the things that really attracted me was the floats. So for both of you, did you have any say at all on what your float will look like on that Saturday?
Yeah, well, for me, I was actually helping build it. So, because, but what I wanted, because, so I just didn't have any experience in doing it. So I thought, okay, the best way to do this is to do what I know, right? So I gathered, all of the dancers and drummers and, artists that I worked with, and we created an island on a float. And I decided to dance the entire way from the bus stop to Albert Park. But the plan was for me to sit on the beach like a lovely, beautiful maiden and just smile and wave. But because we were on this float and we'd spent, days building it as a team and everyone was involved, and I was so excited and the music was so amazing. We had live drummers from the cooks and everything all on the float. I could not help myself. And so I got up and I danced the whole way. So when I got to the stage, I was totally sweating and puffed out and no shoes and had sand everywhere and my hair was everywhere and all the other girls were sitting on the stage like really pretty. So funny. But we had a ball on the float. It was the best fun, and yeah, it was really great. So watching the float on those videos, it definitely brings back good memories, because during my year too, the floats were still really big and they were still really like a important part of it, and like the whole communities got involved in the float. So I remember when we were building ours, like the whole paddling community came and got involved, and I was, dancing with the Rotuman Association and Cook Island Association at USP, so they came and helped, and and I was working for the Pacific Concerns Resource Center as well, so they came and put their bits on the float as well to represent that work. So it was definitely a community effort, which was really great.
Wow, Vinaka for that, Letila. Because for me, as a young girl, going to the Hibiscus, we usually my parents used to tell us to decide whether we're going to go on the day event to watch the float or to go to the crowning. I think when we were little, I was looking forward to see the floats. But as we got older, my parents allowed us, okay, you can go for the crowning. But yes, the float is always something that we look forward to when we were little. Vinaka for sharing that. Alisi, what about you? How did your float go on that day, if you remember?
I'll be honest, when I was watching the video and I saw the float, and I was like, oh, I am sure Dr. T is going to ask about the float. And I was trying to remember how float. But it was built by the, I hope I don't get crucified this. I think it was the engineering department of SCC. And at that point, they've like pretty much set this standard. Everyone knows that the SCC float is always the best float at Hibiscus every year. No one else comes close. So they built it. And I believe it was a replica of the podium, the stand at Sukuna Park.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if that is ambure or if it's like a part of a boat, like I can't exactly tell what it is, but I know it was a replica of that. It was all done real fancy. But the thing was, I was sitting right in front, like they made a seat for me right in front. So I didn't even see the float, properly. I was seated right in front as it was going through. And it was kind of risky. And so every time the vehicle stopped, you kind of jerked forward. And I was like, oh Lord, I hope I don't fall off this thing, because it was pretty high up. But it was so much fun, and there was so many beautiful floats. And I wasn't involved in actually building it. Like, we just came and sat down. But hearing from the other contestants, the other girls talking about helping to build their floats and everything, it was really fun to hear. And watching all the other floats too, I was like, oh man, this is such a cool experience to have. But I think for the general public, the traffic jam wasn't it wasn't something they enjoyed during the float procession.
Yeah, so they will know in advance. You have to find somewhere else and park your car and just come and have fun. Yeah, just come and enjoy. So Vinaka for sharing your memories of that. The other question I had was your wardrobe, because I know, like for example, yesterday with Florence Julian, her favorite color was purple, so she wanted to have a purple dress to wear for her crowning. What about you? We'll start with you, Letila. Did you have a team with you to kind of like plan out your dress throughout the week?
Yeah, I mean, I was really lucky. I come from a really creative family. So Hupfield Herder, who's my cousin, at the time was just starting out in designing. And I think, my whole Hibiscus wardrobe was one of his first sort of collections. But it was a collaboration between him and my mom, and also Tanya Whiteside. I wore a lot of her sort of Tiki Tog's Tanya Whiteside dresses as well. And then, I built in a lot of my own creativity and adding in a lot of sort of island costumes. And so it was definitely a collaboration. but yeah, I was definitely lucky to have my mom who did all the sewing, Anna Sweetman and Happy, you know, all sort of jumping in and helping to do all the work, and Tanya sort of like supervised it all and kind of made sure that it all worked together. Yeah, it was really great having that support from the team.
Wow, Letila. Alisi, what about you?
That was, that bit of it was sort of an out-of-world experience for me, because SCC had a team that was handling me, managing me on this SCC, and it was all planned out like so meticulously. They had colors, like the colors for each day, because I think at that point, Hibiscus by then was like a 10 or 12 day affair. And so, you know, like you had a color for each day, and then looking at the visitations or whatever, the kind of outfit to wear, whether it would be sleeveless, or sleeved, short or long, and the earrings to go with it, and all the other accessories, how my hair would be done, what kind of makeup I would be wearing. Like, they were planning out these things, and I was just sitting there like, okay, cool. Because I mean, like, you know, like my field is in marine science, and we're always doing field work. We're in the ocean. Like, wearing makeup is an occupational hazard, I suppose. You know, that's not the kind of thing we do daily. So I'm like, okay, this is different. I'm learning something here. So it was crazy. Even the shoes and the handbags, it was all done that way. And my makeup person / stylist was Efeli Timbanga, who now owns Kuiviti Pacific. Like, and he was also just starting out at that time as well. And so it was like really, really cool and fun to be in that place with him and sort of like grow together, you know, creatively trying to figure out what can we do, what can we wear, how does this work, how are you going to do my hair? I got my scalp burnt a few times by Epeli, but that was fine, part of the process. Not calling you out, Epeli, I still love you. But yeah, I was really also very thankful to the team at SCC, because they were amazing, you know, like they were really well organized when it came to the pageant. And so coming into it, you know, there were a lot of things that they helped with. Even to the point they had a desk allocated for me where I could sit down and do research. Because, you know, there was a research topic presentation and you had to know like this and that about stuff. So, you know, providing all those kinds of things, it was crazy in a good way. It was fun.
It's funny, Alisi, when you're talking about that experience, because I came from the same place when, you know, when I first started, I was paddling, you know, so my daily clothes were shorts and, you know, flip-flops and vest, jumping in and out of the ocean. So next thing, trying to like work out how to, all the high heels. And I remember this night when Tanya and the team were taking me to go and get my hair done, and they wanted all these streaks done. And because my hair had been in the ocean, like pretty much 4 hours a day, 6 days a week, instead of it having highlights, it all went orange. So they had to like dye it back dark brown. And then, you know, they're trying to get my eyebrows done. And I was like, no, it's too, I can't handle it, you know. So it was really the funny sides of those experiences. You know, you see all the beauty, but then, you know, trying to convert these ocean girls who like walk around with flops 24/7.
Yeah.
That was definitely, I think, fun for Happy and Tanya.
Wow, yes. So it would have been a life-changing experience for both of you. Being, you know, you're both like outdoor type ladies, and now you have to be a lady or princess for the week, you know, like the makeup and all of that. I like what Alisi said, that makeup was like a hazard or whatever you just said.
Occupational hazard.
Occupational hazard. So Vinaka vakalevu for sharing that, because see, as what Letila said, we don't see that, yeah. But it's nice to see all the work behind the scene and the dedication. Now, since you mentioned research, Alisi, What was it like, behind the scene to prepare for the public and the private judging? Yeah, so we'll start with Alisi and then we'll go to Letila. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I kind of remember because I know it was intense. It's been a while since I talked about this, but so going back to our team for our youth project, that was Fenton, Lutunatambua, my husband now, George Nadewa, Rusi, and a few others that we did that thing with, and we came back. And so when we got into it, they're like, oh, you have to study all this stuff. And George, to support me, he also joined the Kings category. And he became the second runner-up for their category. But we were pretty full on. I wouldn't say we were like determined to win. I think we just, for me personally, I really didn't want to make a fool of myself up there. Because when we talked about it and they were like, do the pageant, I was like, I'm gonna go and do this. It's not just Alisi, standing up there on stage. It's Alisi representing her vanua, Alisi representing, her schoolmates, and Alisi representing her family, and even like her, alma mater, like USP, like all the gang that I studied with and all that, like, because when you introduce yourself, you're saying, oh, I graduated with this degree from USP in marine science, and I attended Anivakuma school, and I did this and that. And so everything you do from that point onwards, you are representing all those things, right? And so I was constantly anxious about representing them well. And then when it came to the research, we would go to different organizations organized by our friends, like their networks and friends, like companies and all. And we would ask them, can we just come in and do an impromptu speaking thing? So I'll just come in and I'll stand there and they'll throw out a topic and I'll speak on it for like 5 minutes and they'll ask me questions. And then we'll do like a little Q&A kind of thing. Or I would go and visit, I even went and visit different ministries and departments to talk about the kind of stuff they do. I remember I went to the Ministry of Environment, I went to Finance, I went to Town and Country Planning, just to go and sit with them. And at that point, I can't remember who organized it. Was it us or was it SCC or whoever it was that said, you have to go and sit there and talk to them to understand what's going on in that department or whatever. And so there was all these things going on. It was fun for me because I was part of the networking, I was part of starting to get my foot in the door because I was also looking for work. I was also trying to build myself up. And so if there was a chance that I could meet with a minister, yes, I'm going to take it. There's a chance I could meet with a director or PS. Yeah, I'm going to show up to that space. And the mode of getting there was through the pageant. So that was awesome.
And interesting. Alisi, for using the pageant, as you said, 1 foot in, it's an opportunity, open door, the doors for you to go to all these places. Wow. Vinaka vakalevu, Alisi. What about you, Letila? What was your prep like, apart from the, with trying to get your hair done and all?
Yeah, no, definitely the same as Alisi. I think that side of it was when you started to realize the gravity of your role, and very similar process. Tanya and my team sort of took me out to a lot of different organizations, and I had to learn how to do public speaking because, I was a paddler, I was a dancer, and so I was always doing physical things. So. All the public speaking was a very new thing, but I think it was definitely a really good building experience, and especially for me because I worked with Pacific Concerns Resource Center, and at the time I was the campaign officer for West Papua and Bougainville, and so part of my role was to be able to be strong in your speaking and being able to network. So it was definitely a really good experience on how to apply your research and your work, and network and talk about, you know, the issues that you were passionate about. But you know, it was interesting process for me as well too, because then all of a sudden, like Alisi said, you then became really aware of the community around you and who you are representing. And, you know, so as my wider extended Rotuman family started gathering, you know, was becoming really aware of, yeah, it wasn't just me as a paddler, you know, like casually having fun representing that group of people, but it was definitely a bigger thing that was growing. And I think that it really did cement a lot of my pathway and the work that I'm doing now, because then it opened my eyes up to also the possibilities and the things that I could do. Yeah, and it was good because it really builds in you that sort of, you know, the feeling of being accountable, and, you know, and it's not just, you know, in those days, you were becoming an ambassador, you know, so in that training process, all of the people that were around you, I mean, all my research side and stuff was, a lot of that was guided by Bernadette Nganilau. So, you know, she really guided me in that process on how to speak well, how to research, how to articulate, you know, issues, and to really be a role model for Pacific women and for, you know, women in Fiji. And, you know, so I think that was a real change in my career path and in the things that I did, and really understanding the power of what, you know, opportunities like that could do. But yeah, it was definitely, I think that was the most intense side of the pageant, was that, you know, that research and that really cultivating who you were. It was really cultivating, you know, what you stood for, and being able to really articulate that. So yeah, it was definitely an experience.
Yes, man, that's so good. Eh? Lovely to acknowledge, yeah, those individuals that you mentioned that were working with you behind the scene. And as Alisi said, you know, the research part is really important, and both of you acknowledge that you're both representing not just Letila or just Alisi, right? You have all this group of people behind you. It may be seen as a pressure, but it may be a good thing as you look, now that you're looking back, it has opened these doors for you. Wow, Vinaka vakalevu. And you both mentioned these two designs. You know, you've got Happy and you've got Epeli Tuimbanga, and that is amazing. You both look back 1997 to 2011, and these two designers who are amazing designers today, they maybe at some point listen to our Talanoa. We'll start with you, Letila. What would you like to say to Happy? You know, now remembering what happened in 97 with him designing most of your clothes, and now he's in this another level of academic study and all the amazing accolades he's got over the years, the same with Epeli. So we'll start with you, Letila. What would you say to him?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was so grateful for his love and care and mentorship, you know, and I think for him too, it was a really special moment because, you know, we were working together as a family, and under the mentorship as well of Tanya Whiteside, who was, you know, she's a renowned international designer. So, you know, I was so privileged to have both of them on my team, and they were just always so caring and thoughtful about what I was wearing and making sure I was comfortable, and, you know, and Happy also then, and Tanya both then took me on to Miss South Pacific, and then Koila and Manilau joined our team. And, you know, so all these individuals, you know, and their creativity and all the work that they put into it is really an important part of it. You know, you're just one body in this whole team of people who really work hard, and they were up, you know. I remember watching Hupfield and my mother up till like 2, 3 in the morning, and Tanya, and they were sewing stuff and they were beading, and, you know, so all the hard work and effort that goes into that, you know. And it was really wonderful seeing my mom, who's a doctor, getting right into all the sewing, and, you know, and so it was, you know, really wonderful seeing that family effort. Yeah, and then now, you know, Happy is like this really like sought after designer, and I'm lucky I'm his cousin. I can actually walk into his house and go, "Hi, Happy, I came to get some new clothes." So I'm grateful that he's now famous, that he can continue to clothe me.
Wow, that's wonderful. Lisa, happy if you're listening. Just know that we appreciate you, and it's just amazing for all the amazing work you do. I think I know your address in Lami. I might pop in there as well to get something from your wardrobe somewhere there. So Vinaka happy and Vinaka Letila for acknowledging the work, amazing work that he has done over the years. Alisi, what about you for Epeli Timbang?
Same thing. I'm so grateful. I could just walk into Epeli's flat and be like, oh, is this your new collection? Has this been released yet? Can I get this in my size? But yeah, it's just been amazing because at that point, I can't remember, I think Epeli took part in the 2008, was it 2009 Hibiscus? And from what he shared, that was his first like sort of dipping his toes in that fashion field, because for his talent, he had clothing collection. And, they did the whole runway catwalk kind of thing. And then from there, he started to do clothing. And then I think he had also dressed the Miss SEC the year before me. And then they brought him in again to dress me. And it was just so much fun. And then when I won, I insisted that he go with me to the South Pacific pageant. And again, making these big plans with $0 to go with it, but it worked out. And he joined me. And I think at this point, there are two other important people that I haven't mentioned yet that I should. And those were our pageant coordinators for Hibiscus, Berta Verbasanga and Asaeli Sinusetaki. They were just so amazing. I think most of the maybe on icky parts of the pageant preparation, they made it so bearable, teaching us how to do the catwalk, public speaking, stage presence, just all these little tips and things that we needed to learn, just to complete that whole presence and that whole look. And it was our two coordinators, Berta and Asaelia. And they were just so good that even when we got to Samoa for the South Pacific pageant, Berta also went along with the team. And so it was, and Berta also has a design, he also designs his collection as well. And so I was like really, really blessed that I had these two amazing, talented, creative individuals to offset the lack of creativity and fashion sense on my end to just help clothe and dress me and, show me what are the different things that would work in order to participate fully. So yeah, it was amazing. And of course, our director that went with us is Angela Vakombau. And she is also a designer and she has her own business. She does stuff as well. So I think the whole experience is just amazing to be surrounded by creative, talented people, who are just really good at what they do.
Wow, that is amazing. And I'm really happy that you both acknowledged the Happy and Epeli, and of course others, behind the scene with Letila, acknowledging her mom. As we know, Letila, that your mom is a medical doctor, but again, to see her doing the sewing and, getting her out of her own comfort zone, but to come in and support you must be really moving for you. What else did mom do, at that time, if you remember, apart from the sewing?
Yeah, well, she was definitely part of the sort of team that looked after me. So it was her, it was Hupfield, it was Bernadette. Even my dad pitched in, I remember dad actually helping me with my dance and helping me with all my speeches and research. And, my sisters were involved. So it was definitely this big family affair, which is, I think the great fun of it was that everyone got involved. You know, and we also had to do quite a bit of fundraising. And so, you know, mom and my sisters and, you know, a lot of my paddling friends, Sidel and Leanne, all these, we were doing tea baskets and bake sales and all that stuff in the lead up. So, you know, it was really this big sort of effort, you know, that we did. And the crazy thing was at the time, we were also training for the World Canoeing Championships. So, you know, it was really a crazy time of all of us trying to balance that as well. So balancing our training and stuff. And, you know, my coach at the time, Colin Philp, you know, he was a big part of it all and helping to coordinate it and coordinate all the boys to carry the float and coordinate all that, you know. So there was all these, you know, incredible people around me, and, you know, Glenn and Dale, who were my sponsors, and their wives and their kids were all involved in the process. Their kids were dancing on the float with me, and, you know, Sharon and Zelda at the time were there. They were fundraising and organizing and doing makeup. And yeah, so it was this really beautiful community time, you know. So yeah, it was definitely a highlight of my time.
So Vinaka, man, so lovely to hear the kind of the family feel. You know, you don't feel alone throughout that week. And I'm sure after the crowning, it would be really hard to start to slow down after that, because it must have been that hive of activity, right? Everyone coming into the house and talking, eating, doing things together. Yes, so that's wonderful. And then now let's look at after you both crowned, what happened after that? Where did you go? So Alisi, you mentioned you went to Samoa. Letila, where did you go that was part of your win or your prize?
Yeah, so I went to Auckland for the Miss South Pacific. I can't remember, but I think it was about maybe eight or 9 months after. Yeah, so it was pretty, like, that whole, I think, year and a half or 2 years was really intense, because you know, straight after Hibiscus, we went straight into preparations for Miss South Pacific, which was a very different feel from Hibiscus, you know. It was very, very intense, and I really saw the pressure side of pageants and the competitiveness. So it was definitely a very different experience to Hibiscus. And then, you know, you weren't just like you're representing your own community within Fiji, you were then representing the country, which was another level of sort of pressure and preparation. And yeah, I just remember that it being a bit of a blur, because I was like in my last year of USP and I was in exams and, like, you know, so, and as well as, you know, once you got crowned, there was only a couple of days like that you could rest, and then you were like on the go. There was like lunches, there were charity events, there were, you know, you were doing speaking everywhere. And at that time, I had to tour with Tourism Fiji. So we did like trips through Europe, through the US, Australia, New Zealand, and I would travel with their team to then go and speak and, you know, be at the booths and stuff and be the ambassador for Fiji. And so it was definitely a really hectic year, and it was a big commitment, you know. So I had to put my studies on hold for about, you know, for that year because of the intense travel. And, you know, we did a lot of community work throughout that year. So there was a couple of charities that I was assigned to that we worked with for the whole year, and we actually built infrastructure for them. And, you know, I went in on a regular basis and worked with the kids, and, you know, and at that time, all of my sort of campaign work with Pacific Concerns Resource Center was picking up as well, all the West Papua and the nuclear free campaigns as well. So it was a bit crazy, but it was very exciting. Like, you know, that was my step into life as an adult, you know, that was my first step, and my first travel without my parents, you know, so it's definitely the way to go.
Wow, that's amazing, because you never know, there'll be some young girls watching this video, you know, and they'll be hearing your story. You never know. Yeah, someone will be moved by what, you know, both of you sharing tonight. Vinaka, vakalevu for sharing that, Letila. Alisi, what about you? Apart from Samoa, where else did you go? Was it a similar ambassadorial role?
I'll be honest. I think as Miss Hibiscus and Miss Fiji, there weren't as many opportunities around my time. Not many invitations, but when I did go to the Miss South Pacific, I won the Miss South Pacific, which was, that was the shocking bit, because I actually didn't have, not I, we, the team, didn't have much time to prepare, because the pageant, the South Pacific pageant was like early December, or was it late November, early December. And Hibiscus was around August. And then for a couple of months after that, there was this, like August, September, October, there was this whole discussion that there was supposed to be a Miss Fiji pageant before we have a representative to the Miss South Pacific pageant. And so for about 2 months, I didn't even know, am I gonna go and represent us? Are we gonna have another pageant? Is there gonna be something else? Will it get deferred? So I was, you know, sort of reverting back into I graduated. It's been like a year and a half, 2 years now. I really need to go and look for a job, you know, I need to get on with my life kind of mindset. And then just, you know, out of the blue, I got the call to say, okay, Alisi, you're going. And at that point, I think there was only about 6 weeks to prepare. And that was, you know, that was preparing my traditional attire, finalizing my talent, the sarong category, yeah, and just my outfits for the entire like week that we would be in Samoa. And I guess I was just so busy trying to organize everything and get ready. I didn't really have time to think about, okay, what if I, you know, I might win or something or whatever. But then it happened. And it was at that point that I got exposed to these types of opportunities, you know, because as Miss South Pacific, you would get invited to other countries for the pageants. I was fortunate enough to go to the Miss Samoa pageant and the Miss PNG pageant. There was, you know, all these sort of ambassadorial things you kind of do. I went to New Zealand, Auckland, was it, for the Pacific Festival music? I forgot what it's called exactly. But we went there with Fresh TV and we were hosting. So that was fun. I went with Miss Samoa. And yeah, oh gosh, that just reminded me that when we had the pageant in Samoa, Fresh TV came to document the whole thing. And on the first day after we did our interviews, like we literally landed on Saturday morning and it was like 4 a.m. and by 7 we had breakfast and we were off to do interviews. That was the program for the first day. And we finished off our interviews and then the crew from Fresh TV, they came up to me and they were like, oh, we really liked your interview, Miss Fiji. Would it be cool if we followed you around for the whole week and just to get some insights onto what it's like following you? And I was like, okay, sure. What does that look like exactly? And they're like, oh, we'll just come around and be like, can we shoot this? Can we shoot that? Like, yeah, sure, fine. And so there was a point where they came early in the morning. They're like, can we come and shoot you getting ready? And I was still in my towel and everything. And I was like this? And they're like, no, not like that. Like, we'll come and shoot different things. So like they were shooting me brushing my teeth and barely just doing my hair and some other stuff behind the scenes. And then I got crowned and it was just crazy that there is now this video of that whole process that's there in the interwebs of, you know, me taking part in the South Pacific pageant. So that was pretty cool as well. And I've completely forgotten what your initial question was, Dr. T. I've just started telling stories now. I'm so sorry. I'll stop.
That's okay. I think we'll just say all of the above because, you know, with the travel, you know, with the different countries. So Letila went to, you know, different countries overseas, of course, with you too, both of you being part of the Miss South Pacific. Wow. Well done, ladies.
And the connection, I have to say it as well now, because of that, because I was Miss South Pacific and I was part of our Econesian Society for our university thing, Ted Fong, he was the president then, he calls me up and he's like, when they did the Temana Temoana journey for the vacas, And he said, can you come and welcome them at USP? And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Oh, just say a speech. So I come dressed up and everything. They come down, do that and everything, all the welcome. I did a little speech, gave all of the crew one salu salu each. That was the most exhausting part. And then I come around and Ted introduces me to Colin. And he's like, oh, he's the president. They're the ones organizing this. And then I cheekily asked, oh, so that means if I want to get on the vaka, I just ask you. And he was like, what, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, if there's a spot, call me. And a couple of days later, they did call me and I got a spot on the Uto. And I was so blessed to also sail with them from Fiji through Vanuatu to Solomon's for the Pacific Arts Festival. Couldn't make it all the way to Newcastle. We had to come back. And that was such an amazing experience.
Ah, look at that. See the opportunities, right? That opens up. Because I was wondering, because I've seen you on the Utunialo a number of times, and I'm thinking, what is Alisi doing on that boat? You know, because I was thinking because of your marine science background, of course, that would have been one of them. But now that you're sharing this side of the story, it's getting clearer about that. So, wow, Vinaka vakalevu. And speaking of the Utunialo, I remember getting an email from Letila when I was in Auckland. I remember the email came and Letila said, Teresi, can you please represent us to go to this place where the Utunialo was built, somewhere in North Shore, somewhere there, Letila? I think you and Colin, no one was able to come at that time. So I have photos that I had to represent the team in Fiji at the boat building place. So Vinaka Letila for the email. It's interesting that Utunialo has connected all of us. So that is so wonderful, yeah, that we're able to just to represent Fiji in different ways. So especially for you both, and I think for all of us too as women, especially when we are representing, you know, talking about International Women's Day, again, to see what women can do. Yeah. So speaking of Utunialo, I'll jump back to Letila. How did you get involved, Letila? And then we will wrap up after this.
Yeah. So 98, I think it was 98. I can't remember. Anyway, I was working as the director of the Fiji Arts Council, and when we were at the Festival of Pacific Arts in American Samoa, Rawiri Paratene, who's a Maori actor and an activist, and him and Dita, you know, we had a voyaging meeting. And at that time, they invited me because I was the Secretary General for the Fiji Va'a sort of federation. So I was very heavily involved in the canoeing scene in Fiji and internationally. So yeah, so Colin and I went for this initial meeting, and so we were sort of part of the initial group that built the 7 vakas. So we, from the Festival of Pacific Arts, we then, you know, I worked alongside Colin and each of the sort of navigators and the voyaging societies from the other countries to firstly build the canoes, and then to do the big te mana or te moana sail that Alisi is talking about. And so my role on that was sort of like the coordinator for all of the voyage. So Mano and I, so Colin and I did like all the logistics. So we did all of the planning with Jonathan, the skippers and the skippers of each canoe. We did all the logistics for all of the crew to go from their home countries, fly in, train, you know, did all the logistics on who's eating where, what food was going on what canoe and all of that. And then once the voyages were on their way, then Manoa and I and a few of the other people from the voyaging community were in charge of all the cultural elements. So we were in charge of when the canoes left countries, there would be cultural ceremonies, and when they would arrive, they would be all the arrival ceremonies. So Mano and I helped coordinate all of that. So when they arrived to Fiji, you know, making sure all those protocols were in place. And because it was the first time it had been done, we really wanted it to be done properly. So we really took a lot of time to research and find out who were the right people to get involved and bring in the communities. Because, you know, the voyaging culture really connects oceanic people. And so it was really about revitalizing that whole knowledge system as well as the sails. So yeah, it was such an amazing experience. And unfortunately, I couldn't voyage because I was pregnant. So I was the real mama of the voyage. I was having children for the next generation. So I remember Colin saying to me, goodness, what's wrong with you? Like for the first voyage, you were pregnant. The second voyage, you were pregnant. I was like, man, you know, it's the mama vibes. I'm the mama of the ocean. I'm looking after the children and the next generation. So yeah, so I was all the background work and, you know, but it was an honor. It was an honor to be part of that whole experience.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Yeah, it's just lovely to see the synergy between the two of you with the, you know, your, being represented for Hibiscus, but also your paths crossed, especially through your love for the ocean. For you, Letila, with your paddling and how you connect back to Utunialo, and for Alisi with her marine studies, and through the pageant, reconnected her back to Utunialo. Wow, that is amazing, Isa. And now we recalling, you know, with Colin and his family and others who have paved the way for us. I think that's the best way to say, yeah, that the next generation will be the ones that we're doing this for, and they will be the ones who will carry on the flag in years to come. Yes, man, Vinaka vakalevu. And now that, since we're speaking about the Utunialo, I think Alisi, you have some updates. Where's the Utunialo now?
I believe they're in Bua right now. They might still be in Kumbulau. Today they were doing some workshops and sharings and learnings with the communities. Yeah, I haven't really seen all the updates, but I know they're out there. They sailed safely across. They're enjoying themselves. I know that the people of Kumbulau are really taking care of my Tau Eva. And it's a project with the REMU, through even the Ecological Net. Through the Pacific Conference of Churches. Urban Youth is also part of that, and the Utunialo Trust. And it's a project of, you know, taking this message of reweaving our ecological stories and how our traditional knowledge marries with our spirituality and how that looks, you know, in this new world. And it's just been a really cool project, and we've been really blessed, you know, as a network to be engaged in this process. And for me, personally, I'm like really excited that I have this opportunity to sort of share on with those, you know, younger than us, the experience of being able to be part of Mama Uto. And, you know, like just as you were sharing, Letila, I was thinking as well, man, you know, they always say that Mama Uto always chooses her crew, eh? And so seeing the people who are part of her crew and who are going on this voyage, I've seen, you know, she's back in the water now. She was dry docked for a while, getting all fixed up. She's so beautiful. And seeing them there, I'm just excited, you know, trying to imagine what this next generation, what their journey will be like, what their stories will be like. You know, our stories are back from 2000 and, well, for me, sorry, it's 2012, and now it's 2022. So from 10 years ago to now, so I'm trying to also, you know, sort of envision for these young people 10 years from now, how much more richer it will be for it because of the experiences they're having now. Right? That's pretty cool.
Vinaka vakalevu, for sharing that. So yeah, so a big shout out to Eva Wunikura, who will be listening, maybe sitting beside the Talanoa right now. And for the girls out there. So Alisi, do you know some of the girls apart from Eva? Who are they, and would you like to do a shout out to them?
Yes.
Who are in Ua right now?
I hope I remember all their names. There's Maima. Maima's from Samoa. There's Daphne from PNG. Our rep from Boyu, Diana. And she's from Nambowalu. She's Nambowalu. And there's, who else? Oh my gosh. Man, is Lily on the sail? She's part of the Utunialo. There's Seru. Seru's also from Boys on the sail. The captain, Angelo. Oh, I can't remember everyone else. I think I've mentioned all the girls. Oh my goodness, I forgot Wanisa Maitau, Oli. Yes, Oli Mbaro. She's also on the Uto. But I think she counts as a Kaimbua now because she's found her relatives in Namalata. So they're all out there enjoying themselves.
Oh, it's so nice to hear you acknowledge them, and particularly the women who are all part of this. And again, today's session is celebrating, our women and our stories. And just having you both here is just so lovely to have us go down memory lane from your hibiscus stories, and now we're going over to the ocean. I think we started in the ocean and ended in the ocean. So that is so beautiful. Letila, you mentioned the word revitalization, right, of indigenous knowledge through your work from 1998 to date. With your work, what are some of the maybe the results of your research or work itself to look at women's role in navigation in the Pacific?
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting journey because when we first started on the voyage of sort of building the Uto and building all the 7 canoes, it was definitely a lot of research into the role of women. I distinctly remember this, one of the first meetings that we had up north in New Zealand. Was one of and it was in a Maori village, and still a very traditional village, everything was intact and a very strong voyaging culture. And I remember being in their marae, and there were all these master navigators around in this meeting, and I was the sole woman in that space, which, and it was a little bit intimidating because, like I was young at that time, and, being the only woman. And I remember saying, when they came and asked me if I needed to say anything, I apologize for being in that space, because you're young, you don't, you feel you're insecure, you're not confident about why you're there. And they were like, oh, in everything that we do, in every voyage that we undertake, it's the women that help us prepare. Wow. And it's the women that look after the land and look after our communities and look after everything as we voyage and come back. And so, and they explained, and they said, the women are the holders of the knowledge. So if we get left at sea or we go missing at sea, we know that the women will carry the knowledge on, and they'll carry the mana on. They'll teach the children, they'll prepare the next generation of voyagers. So they were like, no, you play a very big role. And the reason why you're here is because you must help cultivate that next group of young women who are going to stand strong, And so, yeah, it was such an honoring moment that, I had many moments of tears, like just realizing the gravity of the roles that I was in, and, feeling really blessed that I was in those positions to be a part of such incredible rebuilding of our Oceania, because over the years, as you go through university and school, you just see how much of our culture and our systems and our environment has broken down, not from our own people's knowledge, but from external knowledge coming and deliberately breaking that down. So, this last 10, 15 years of my work, it's been, like Alisi said, it's really exciting to think what young people in the Pacific might be in 10 years' time, when you can see all this rebuilding happening, And there's really an active movement to rebuild and piece it together. And yeah, so that's been really amazing to see, from when we first started all of that work, we were, sometimes solo warriors out there trying to, push these agendas ahead, but, it built over the years, and it's now a big crowd of people chanting the same messages. So yeah, it's really powerful, and the women that are behind it and at the core of it, I think that makes a big difference.
Thanks, Vinaka, for sharing that, because you're discussing about that revitalization of navigation knowledge in Oceania, and looking at Mama Uto right now. They're walking the talk, right? They're doing exactly what that vision is, to see some younger women participating and being out at sea and trying to keep this knowledge alive. Vinaka vakalevu, to both of you for coming tonight and sharing your story. There's so many positive comments coming in on so many of our audiences, just acknowledging, hearing your stories and seeing both of you two together and sharing what you went through during the Hibiscus Festival, and now celebrating your work in maritime and also in your contribution to the Utunialo Trust. Vinaka vakalevu. So before we conclude our Talanoa tonight, I will give you back the time to perhaps reflect or share some words of wisdom from both of you as we keeping the International Women's Day in our minds, thinking of our younger girls and younger women listening in tonight on what are some maybe empowering messages or advice that you would like to share to them tonight. We'll start with you, Letila, and then we'll conclude with Alisi. Naka.
So, firstly, just a big thank you to you, Dr. T. It's women like you who pave the way and provide the platforms for us that really make a difference. Because often there's not the spaces that we can have these conversations, and so I really, really appreciate you and all the work that you do in paving this way for all of us. And, I think all we can do is do better, work harder, follow in your footsteps and in the footsteps of other, women like you, and, listen to your messages and continue to do the work to, help our communities, to look after our families. And I think we're in a challenging time, but we're also in a time where the world is shifting into different spaces. And, Mama Earth, she's talking. So I think, this is the time when we all really need to listen and really look at that, rebalancing the way that we do things, the way we live, the way we are, and, the way we build a future. We really need to connect back to the land, really connect back to respecting her and loving her and protecting her. And so, for us as women, who walk behind women like yourself, we're the next generation of pushing that through. And my role as a mother and a sister and an auntie has also been looking to my younger ones and helping to make sure that they come through with the same fighting warrior woman spirit to make those changes. So yeah, I'm encouraged about the world ahead, nervous at the same time, but knowing that there's such powerful Pacific women, I think we're heading in the right direction. Mama Uto is taking us the right way. So Vinaka, thank you for everything that you do.
Yes, Vinaka Letila, for those words and those words of encouragement. And we're so happy there's lots of women listening in too, who will be touched and moved by your sharing, Vinaka. Alisi?
Thank you, Dr. T. Thank you, Letila. Yeah, first of all, I would like to just thank you both for this evening. I've just had such a wonderful time listening to you both. Letila, I think we've had one or two opportunities in the past to share like this. And I'm also thankful that, Dr. T provides this kind of platform where we can share some very poignant, honest conversations, but it's still fun. It's not like a stressful kind of situation where you feel like you have to really provide these things to have a discussion as we do with many of our Zoom conferences and such. I've really, really enjoyed just hearing from you both. And I guess on the vein of the conversation of what you mentioned, Letila, around, the path that's been taken by those who've gone before us and how we're also following on, it makes it easier, the more the path is traveled, the smoother it becomes. And thinking about International Women's Day, I would like, my hope, how I live is to try and make that path better and more accessible for younger women and for those who are coming after us. And I would like to thank you both and also, those before you who have done that. And I see it, I recognize it, I acknowledge it. when I go into different spaces and I see the footprints of other strong Fijian Pacific women who have been in that space. And it allows me, to also be great in that space. And so, when I'm thinking of those kind behind me, the question in my mind is always, how can I make it even better for them so that they can grow even more than we have? And my hope is that we always outgrow our shell. We always, fight the discomfort, and we always dream so big that it makes us uncomfortable, because if your dreams don't make you uncomfortable, they're not big enough, right? And we always make a way to help each other achieve those things. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
Vinaka vakalevu, Alisi, for those words. And I'm sure our audiences, particularly our young ones, especially the young girls who have seen your pictures wearing the crown. And before we started our Talanoa, I'm sure there's your daughters, right, who knew and saw pictures of both of you being queens. So maybe before we finish, because I want that story for you to share. So Letila, what happened with your daughter seeing your picture as Miss Hibiscus?
Yeah, it was actually just this Christmas gone when we went back home, and Mom, had framed a lot of our photos. And so there was a photo of me being crowned by Ratumara, and it was on the wall. And so my youngest, she's 7 now, so she walks past and she looks at it and she's like, "Mommy, are you the queen?" I was like, "Well, I was the queen." It was called Miss Hibiscus. So we were like, it was like the queen of that pageant. She was like, "So you're the queen of Fiji?" And I was like, "No, it's like, and she's like, "But why did you give up the crown?" "Because I want to be a princess." So we had this whole discussion on, and I was trying to make her understand that I wasn't the queen of Fiji. So then she's starting to ask if like her father was the king. And then if he was the king, then was Papa the great king? And like, so she was, this whole long conversation. So it was really funny watching this 7-year-old, like really like freaking out that she might be a princess, So it was really funny.
Oh, that is so cute. And, again, we were talking about the next generation.
Yeah.
So look at that, she may be the next, Hibiscus queen in her time. So you never know, Letila. So
I know. Well, the amazing thing was that Mom, I had no idea, but she actually kept my sash. And so she went into the room and brought out my sash. So we've got a photo of Sina with the sash on, looking very proud that she was like, the queen of Fiji.
Oh, Vinaka for sharing that. That was so cute. Just, imagining or think, what's going on in her mind. Yeah, with all that. Oh, wow, Mom. Wow, that is so good. Vinaka, Letila. Alisi, I think you also had a similar experience.
Yes, that was a very similar story. There was, it was like one of these, my daughter, Ayana, she's 9 now. So she was around 6, 7. And then, they would have the hibiscus showing on TV. And so it was coming on, they were doing all these different shows, and she was watching it, loving all the colors and the music and everything. And then her father tells her, "Ayana, did you know your mother was Miss Fiji? She was the queen of Fiji." And she turns around and she's like, "What? Mommy, you were the queen? So if you were the queen, am I a princess?" Exact same thing, And I'm just like, "No, not exactly. You're my princess, but you're not the princess." And I was trying to find a way to explain it to her. But yeah, those conversations are always funny. I have another daughter. She's 2.5 now. So I'm trying to imagine, like, will she have that same kind of thinking, like trying to figure it out when she's older? Or maybe she won't even care. I don't know.
So let's hope that they will continue the Hibiscus Festival, where this conversation can still go on, and also pictures of both of you can still come on TV, or with you, Letila, the sash is still there. Oh my goodness, your mom has kept all of that. Alisi, do you still have your sash?
I still have my sashes. And my crown from the South Pacific pageant. It was a really nicely done crown carved out of coconut and everything, along with the sash. So it's still there. Every now and then my daughter brings it out and wears it and walks around the house, and then I tell her just put it away because it's sort of deteriorating a bit. You know, it's gotten old and a lot of the materials are natural. So I need to put it in the museum or something.
Yes, that's a good idea, actually. That is a good idea. Now you're talking to a museum geek right here. So I will talk to the director who is from Bua. So that'll be really good. So let's talk after this. Okay. Vinaka vakalevu to both of you, again for just being here tonight and Talanoa. I think as you both said, I think we need more platforms like this, to share a lot of these things that may be not written in the newspaper or not written in any other formal books or in academic settings. As you both know, with us Indigenous people, Talanoa and storytelling is something that is natural for all of us. And we're just so happy that, we can have this platform available for everybody. And we're just so happy that we get messages every day from Fijians all over the world, especially those who've been away from Fiji for so long. And I've got this email the other day from a lady who said that she wakes up every morning and makes an effort to see which video to watch in the day, that kind of connects her back to Fiji. That was so, so touching and very moving, in which I didn't realize that, it's going to be this platform like this, because I started off this program just storytelling to little kids for Ayana and, for Letila's princess. But yeah, now it's a storytelling session for everyone, for the young and the young at heart. But I'm just so glad that we can be able to be here together and share all of these things. So before we finish, any other thing would you like to share? Anything that I've forgotten to ask, or anything you thought, I should say it?
I think I'm okay, Dr. T. Thank you so much. And thank you to you as well, Letila.
Yes, Vinaka. And I think for Letila, because I'm going to play the song from Bua. So to those of you who are listening in, I think we had to play, paper, scissors, rock, as to which song to go first. So we had Rotuma, and now we're going to play the song from Bua to acknowledge both of our ladies tonight. But for the song from Rotuma, I know Letila is part of Rako. So would you just like to share a little bit about that song, Letila? Because I know you were the brainchild of that song.
Yeah, so Avmanea is sort of like our festive season during December. So that actual song came out as a celebration song. So usually when you're on the islands, you go far around the island during Christmas. And so a lot of those songs were really old Farah songs that you hear when you're going to all the Farah around the island, or when you're in Suva. And so, yeah, it's sort of like a remix, a funky urban remix that the team put together, just to celebrate with their communities. And yeah, we never knew that it would go so big, but it was more just about connecting with family and having a song to play with that, reminded us of Farah on the island. So yeah, it's good.
Vinaka. So for you, Letila, if people want to know more about Rako, where can they go to? Because we know that Rako Pacifica is doing such an amazing work, community-wise in Fiji, but also globally. Do you have a website or Facebook page that people can go to?
Yeah, so our website is rakopacifica.com. And we're on Facebook and Instagram, all the social media platforms, which I have no idea about because I have this really amazing young technologically savvy crew that do all of that. But yeah, we're really honored to work with such amazing young people, and we're really enjoying the work that we're doing with our community. So yeah, thank you, Dr. T, for that.
Yes, I think from all of us, just like to acknowledge Rako Pacifica and all the amazing work that you do, Letila, with your amazing team internationally, in Australia, also in Fiji. They're doing such an amazing work. And I think the last couple of days I've been seeing them performing with the Silver Cancer Survivors Group. Just makes me smile, to see all these young girls supporting our cancer survivors. So again, acknowledging you and your team for RACO. And Alisi, I know you are the champion for Mama Uto. If people want to know more about this voyage or what's happening with the Utunialo Trust, where should they go to, Alisi? Especially if you want to...
Hardly the fact that I think the champions are on the board right now.
Your Tauvu Eva do the hula.
Go to Eva Nancy Vunikura's page. She's live every other day. There's the Pacific Conference of Churches page and also the Utunialo Trust page. They have, I think, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and they've been providing updates. There's a few hashtags out there as well. Hashtag voyaging, hashtag REM, hashtag Boy Youth that you could also check out, and it can take you to some of the posts and the updates. Yeah, that's really cool to to follow and see their journey and what they're doing out there as well. Yeah, and I'm just really proud of all these young people just, continuing the journey, continuing the work. I think we've, I don't want to say expired, we've slowly passed on the baton. And yeah, to all these other people still continue to do amazing work there. And, I'd like to encourage more people to follow and join. And I reckon that, just paying that membership fee for a year to be part of the Utunialo Trust is like such a good investment. Mama Uto is now back in the water, pay that membership fee, attend those knowledge sessions, learn a few things about traditional sailing, get on that brewer and just sail out in the water. It's going to change your life. So go and do that.
So Vinaka vakalevu. Alisi, for those links, for those of you who are interested to follow Mama Uto, we will put some links on our page. Please support the Utunialo Trust. They need our support. Any donations or any financial support you can give, please do go on their website and support them, because they really need our help to keep them going, because some of the educational programs so informative, not only for young ones, even the older ones too. If we have any opportunity to attend these trainings, please go and support them. Vinaka vakalevu, Letila and Alisi, for such a wonderful Talanoa session. I had so much fun just listening to both of you. And again, I look forward to catch up with you again in the year. If there's some interesting things you're doing, just let me know and I'll be happy to bring you back on my platform. So to conclude our Talanoa, since we started in Rotuma, we're gonna go to Mbua, and we're dedicating this song to all the ladies who are part of Mama Uto, especially to our hula girl, Eva Vunikura, and all her team members. They may be drinking Angona right now in Mbua. So wherever you are, please enjoy this beautiful song. This is the dedication to all our youths, especially to the Mbua Urban Youth Network, Utunialo Trust, Pacific Council of Churches, and anyone who's supporting the work of our amazing voyages. Vinaka vakalevu, and Vinaka vakalevu to Letila and Alisi. So let's enjoy this beautiful song from Mbua.
Niwo soti au tuomua rarama, meusere tako amanaya ba, saila ya mua, saila itue nota biti rarama. Uniwo soti eito inawe atani eito na senani
sa Vinaka vakalevu totoka vakoti ni serea maimbua rongo Vinaka dina babini Vinaka vakalevu kemni to vakusara na nomunisia matiku mai na bongi Vinaka ni kua ndo mevi Talanoa tu kero na nonta bulangi dokai ene sing Vinaka ni kua Letila Mitchell ke Alisi Rabukawaqa. Au sa baka mo te chukani vi kemni ken sara ne sing Vinaka ni kua baka mini Vinaka vakalevu na nomni ndo vito ko ni tiku mai ena nonta program mongo sa baka mo de en dange soto tali tiku ni sing baka rombuka erna vita tali tiku na nonta bulangi erna mai baka ite vitiko ena mo ni madha ongo sa baka mo de tiku yani Vinaka vakalevu ni sa mo de tok.